Welcome back to It Is One Podcast. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Bailey.
And Bailey, before we start today, I just have a quick question.
What do you have for me today, Taylor?
Do you like musicals?
Me? I'm not opposed to musicals. I like some musicals. I like Sweeney Todd. I thought it was good. I like Repo, the Genetic Opera. I thought it was good.
We all know how I feel about that.
Of course.
We did a review on it. But the reason I'm saying this is because for some unknown reason, you decided to select a movie in the spirit of Christmas that was a musical.
I did.
Why? I just want to know, before we get into it, I need to know why you selected a musical.
Because I thought it would be funny. I hadn't seen it, and I knew it was a musical, but I didn't know it was a hard musical. Or I wasn't aware of how, musically it was going to be. So I was like, oh, we can do it. I was like, it'll be fine. And then it was. It was a better movie than I anticipated, which is good.
Well, the movie that we're talking about today is the 2017 Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yes, directed by John McPhail, written by Alan McDonald and Ryan McHenry.
Starring Ella Hunt as the main person, with Malcolm Cunningham kind of being a main person, I guess. I mean, Ella Hunt's really the main person. And then I guess Sarah Swire.
I think it's Swire.
I think it is too. Like, there's a lot of people in here that you could be like, okay, because you could say that Ben Wiggins is a main person, but I think there's like a side people. I want to say that Ella Hunt playing Anna Shepard is the main person.
I mean, her name is in the title.
It is, so this is all about her. This is not about anybody else. All these other people that I named off don't exist.
Well, there is one other person I think we ought to mention, and that's Paul Kaye, and he is Arthur Savage, the antagonist.
Yeah, he's not the main person, though.
But he's the main antagonist.
But he's not the main person, though, because the main person's Anna in the Apocalypse.
Okay, you got me there.
Yeah, but what would you give it on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being the absolute worst thing you've ever seen and 5 being a cinematic masterpiece?
I would give it a 3 on a scale from 1 to 5. I think that the movie was done really well. It's slightly better than average. For it being a musical, I really enjoy it because I often don't enjoy musicals. It had cool horror elements, and then it had some social commentary that I thought was funny in some of the songs, like talking about how kids are zombies and stuff on Twitter.
And I'm going to be honest with you, right there with you, 3 out of 5. It's a surprisingly above average film. Like I would say 2.5, 3 would be average. So maybe it's average, a little bit above. That's primarily due to the amount of singing that's in this movie. There's surprisingly not that much.
And one thing about this, the songs were pretty good in my opinion.
Oh yeah, there are a couple songs that I'll get to that I really enjoyed more than others, but one of the main reasons why I don't like musicals is because I feel most of the songs are out of place and that you didn't need to sing it. You chose to sing it, but it wasn't necessary. Whereas these songs that I picked that I enjoyed didn't really feel out of place. There were a couple where it was like, okay, we could probably talk about it and not sing it. But that's how I feel about most musicals, especially with Repo. I feel like that whole movie was, you could basically talk about it. Why are we singing?
And that's a cold-blooded perspective.
I still enjoyed it. You can, if you really want to know how I truly feel about it, go listen to the pod.
Yeah, it's just a few episodes ago.
Just a few. Yeah, with that being said, you want me to do a spoiler-free review, or would you?
You can go ahead and hit him with your spoiler-free review. You usually do a little bit better at it than I do.
Anna and the Apocalypse is set in London. I think it's London. It's just, I'll say Britain just to be on the safe side.
It's a town called New Haven.
New Haven is in London, right?
It's in Europe.
In Britain, Anna and the Apocalypse takes place with Anna being a sweet girl who just wants to move on from her dad. Her mom's dead, her dad's overprotective, and she's fleeing the country. But she can't because zombies. All I want for Christmas this year is a bunch of infected people. Dun, dun, dun. Anna, with the help of an unlikely gang of misfits that kind of know each other, kind of don't know each other, all band together for one important mission: to save the families at the school.
Okay.
Was that good? And there's singing in there too. It's a zombie musical filled with blood, guts, and lyrical genius.
Yeah, no, that's about right.
I was trying to do something fun.
Yeah, no, it was very fun. That was a very fun summary.
Well, because I think musicals are normally fun, so I tried something. Don't know if it worked or not, but I tried it,
I think it worked.
and that's the important part.
It felt good.
So yeah, with that being said, that's our spoiler-free review. We will play the intro music, and after that, be prepared.
The transition music, sir.
Did I say intro music? We've already played that. I don't know what day it is.
That's okay. Roll the transition music.
That was nice.
Yeah.
So, I will just first off say that I enjoyed this more than I thought I would, because there wasn't as much singing. And I do want to highlight, because obviously it's a musical, so I wanted to start this with my favorite piece, and that you can tell me yours.
Okay.
Is that cool if we do that way?
I think so.
So my favorite piece has got to be the Christmas sexy "Fuck Me Santa" song.
I figured you were going to say that. The one done by Marley Sue, or Lisa is the character.
And first of all, let me just say that everybody has a really great voice in this one. Honestly, though, I think Lisa had the best. And I just, that was the one song in this whole movie that didn't feel out of place. It could have been in a regular movie and it would have been okay. Like I could see that being a non-musical scene, or a musical scene in a non-musical, and it would work.
Yeah.
Like it was great, fit the tone perfectly. It was funny,
It was very funny.
and I enjoyed that one. I liked the song. I was getting into it, and I don't do that with musicals. But yeah, that was my pick for the best one. I think like when you're talking about social commentary and stuff, there are songs that have that in there. This is obviously not one of them. This is just I want to fuck Santa,
Yeah.
which is fine. If you want to fuck Santa, go for it. But what was your pick for the number one song in the movie?
So I don't definitively know what it's called. However, I'm going to take a wild guess and say Nothing's Gonna Stop Me Now. And it's Arthur Savage, or I'm not sure if it's Arthur. But
It
it's
is Arthur, I believe.
Yeah. It's Savage's song, The Headmaster, once Anna and her gang of friends return to the school and find out that their parents have been, they aren't in there anymore. Savage let zombies in.
Which was a really good scene, but
No, it was a phenomenal scene, but that's probably my favorite song, and it's not just because his dancing during it reminded me of Bram Stoker's Dracula, when the guy is in the cell freaking out, the bug-eating guy. It reminded me of that heavy, but that's not why I liked it. I thought the way he did it was cool. I thought the choreography of him like hanging on the bars was cool, and it cutting between seeing him on one side and then showing Anna, fighting the zombies on the other. I thought it was just super, super well put together.
No, and I really enjoyed it, especially when you're talking about that scene when they have the cafeteria table and the zombies are pushing back on it and they're pushing and trying to get it while he's sitting there doing his weird dance thing, which I never caught the Bram Stoker's Dracula reference, but now that you've said that, I can see it.
I don't know that it was meant to be a reference. I just think that dude Savage looks similar to the guy in Dracula. I can't remember his name for some reason right now.
Well, and there were a couple of places where I thought it was referencing something. Like the one that was super blatantly obvious to me was when the transition was happening and Anna was singing her song and walking through the neighborhood and all this shit's going on in the background with people screaming. And then I think it cuts to John.
Yeah, it cuts to John, and he's also singing a song that's, they're correlated, or it's the same song, just a different part, walking around with his headphones on. No, there's still stuff happening. He trips.
Right, he trips. But that reminds me a lot of Shaun of the Dead, where he's going to buy fucking, what is it, milk or something?
Yeah.
A drink from the gas station, and all the shit's going on.
And he's just completely oblivious to it.
100%. And I think he's whistling in that too, which also reminded. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen it. We need to do that movie at some point.
Shaun of the Dead would be really fun.
But that is, as soon as I saw that scene, that was the first thing that came to my mind was, oh shit, Shaun of the Dead, and it would make sense because that's a very popular British film.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm pretty sure in the trailer for this, it compared it to La La Land meets Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I think you're correct. Even though, well, what's the thing that you say? Trailers ruin movies.
I wholeheartedly agree.
But no, I think you're correct in that one. But yeah, that was the main one that stood out to me. Where when I was watching it, I was like, oh, it's a different movie, and that's the one thing that I appreciated about this because it didn't just pick bad movies.
Oh yeah, no, it felt good.
Well, I've never seen La La Land, so
I haven't either.
It probably makes references to La La Land in there too. I'm sure. I just wouldn't know because I haven't seen it. But I know that it made some Shaun of the Dead references, and that's really all that matters. Now, I did think that it was super funny that there was a American girl there. Like, I was like, why? Why'd you throw in a random American?
I mean, why not?
Yeah, I was like, it's a British movie, but it's like, oh yeah, here's the random American lesbian whose parents don't love her. I don't know why I had such a problem with it. I was just like,
I mean, to me that's a weird thing for you to be hung up on because there are a lot of random like European people tossed in like American movies that have different accents that stand out a little, but I don't think it's bad.
I mean, it's just like when it happens in American movies too, it's like why?
But why not?
I don't know. This is one of those things where I was like, I mean, she was one of my favorite characters though. Like I thought she was fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, Steph, her one-liners they made me giggle at the cafeteria where she was like, yeah, we're going to give them hell. And then she like snapped into the finger guns. Not exactly that, but something very similar.
Yeah.
And she does that 2 or 3 times throughout the movie. And every time I'm just like, yes, I understand the awkward, funny one-liners that everyone gives you an awkward look for. I do the same thing, bud.
The 2 scenes with her that I thought were absolutely hilarious. The first one's at the bowling alley when the zombie like accidentally touches her boob, and she just like looks at him like, "Are you fucking serious?" and then slaps him in the face. I thought that was hilarious. And then the other one is when she's in the principal's office trying to find her car keys.
Oh yeah, she picks up the dildo.
She picks up the dildo and drops it, and then picks up the bottle of like vodka, looks at it, goes, and then drops it in her bag.
Yeah, no, she was one of my favorite characters. Absolutely hilarious, for sure.
So I will say that she is my favorite character. Like, I'm glad they put her in there. It was just, I felt like it was kind of a weak thing with the, American exchange students. Like when they randomly put in the foreign exchange student in the movies just to like make it more diverse is what it felt like.
You went to school with me. We had foreign exchange students.
I mean, you're not wrong. Maybe
were they out of place?
They were out of place because they're foreign.
I mean, I don't know. I don't feel the same way. I think it's cool. And I don't necessarily think it's done for diversity. Like, she could have auditioned and just been the best character for the role or the best actress for the role. Like,
yeah,
she wasn't necessarily the token American girl.
No, I'm just trying to make conversation about it.
I know.
But no, I really liked her. I don't necessarily like Nick, but I don't not like Nick, if that makes sense. He was one of those characters where my dad doesn't love me and is the military guy and, was like, stop being a fucking pussy. Kill me, bitch.
Yeah.
I was like, it's kind of cliche, but okay.
I mean, I hear you, and I didn't like him at the beginning, but as the movie progressed, after his, like, emotional scene where he was, oh, well, this is why I'm so fuck the zombies, bro.
Yeah, that was a turning point for his character where it was like, oh yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, after that I was like, yeah, he's not a bad character. Prior to that I was like, he's kind of annoying. He's like that dickhead guy that no one wants to be around.
Well, yeah, he's Jaime Lannister.
Yeah.
Before he got his hand cut off.
No, basically.
Yeah. Like Jaime Lannister lost his hand and I'm like, oh dude, all the evil went out of you. You're kind of a cool guy. And in this movie, Nick was kind of a dickhead the entire time, and then when he has his emotional breakdown and he's like, fuck the zombies, they took the only thing that I loved and my dad called me a pussy before I killed him.
Yeah, it adds sympathy to him. It makes him a more likable character.
As soon as they did that, I was like, well, he got better throughout the movie. Like after that, he wasn't a dickhead. So you could even see when his friends died, he's like, well, fuck them, they were in the wrong place, should have been faster. It's like, that's cold-blooded, man. So I do want to say that the first half of this movie, I really didn't like, and I'll go through. Anna was just the want to break free kid, didn't want to be constrained. John was annoying because he was in love with Anna, and it was very clear that Anna didn't want to fuck him, but he was like, oh, there's a chance. Steph's just depressed and funny.
Super funny.
Chris was kind of odd. He was the scaredy cat the entire time because he's the one with the fucking phone trying to record everything and like shaking as he's like, oh, the zombies.
Yeah.
He was just kind of scared. Lisa, I had a little bit of sympathy for, especially when she was taking care of Chris's mom. I was like, okay, you're kind of cool. She kind of annoyed me a little bit in the beginning, but by the end of it, she was fine. Same thing with where I talked about Nick. And then there's Tony, which...
The tiger?
The tiger. No, the shepherd, played by Mark Bitton, who was Anna's dad.
Yeah.
I feel like he was just my wife died, so I need to be overprotective of my daughter. And then at the end of the movie, it's like, go and live your life, kid. And then, Paul Kaye as Arthur Savage, just being a complete fucking dickhead, was okay.
I loved his character.
I did too. Well, yeah, there were a lot of them that I was just like, okay. And they all had their flaws in the beginning, but the turning point for every single one of them is when they die. Once the school is the turning point. I think that the bowling alley was okay. Where Steph and Anna kill the housekeeper.
Yeah.
Who was a stereotypical Mexican housekeeper. So that's why she was Latina. Okay, that's why I was saying there's stereotypes in here. They killed her, and then they killed the dickhead rugby players or whatever.
Yeah.
The sports, the jocks. I'll call them. I don't know what sport they were playing. They might have been cricket. Whatever they are, they killed them. And that was okay. I thought it was kind of funny how Steph was struggling in the background and everybody was just kind of ignoring her. A little annoying. Because she was obviously like, fucking help me.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, fuck you. Then you have the next, which is when they meet Nick and his gang.
So prior to that, there's a scene I want to talk about.
Oh, there is? Okay.
It might be that scene, but I want to talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when they're underneath the pool, the inflatable pool walking, and Steph's head gets sat on by the old lady who pees on it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I was laughing hysterically during that.
And you could almost say that is the almost the turning point, because that was funny and just added more. Because that's after they meet up with Nick and his gang do their whole or is that right before they meet up?
Right before.
Right before. You're right. Yeah, because he's like, I'm the fucking zombie killer, gonna use my Nintendo 64 controller as a nunchuck.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but no, that was funny, and you could almost say that was the turning point, but. Because there wasn't anything else really with that scene. There was the old lady that pees, and then this is made of rubber or plastic.
Yeah, I think it's plastic. It's warm plastic.
Yeah, that one was funny. Then they meet up with Nick, and it was like, okay, but once they really got to the school, and you had Arthur sitting there at the front desk entrance just eating his Christmas dinner.
Yeah, being a super crazy headmaster dude. I loved his character so much. I know I've said that, and I'm going to keep saying it. He was hilarious.
No, he was great and perfect for that role. And I think that's the turning point when he goes, your parents, like I knew that he had turned them into zombies. It was obvious, but he's like, when your parents, they wanted to leave, they almost made a mistake, but they did.
Because I protected them.
Go through the store. Oh, they're zombies. And everybody's like, shut the fuck up. And he goes, whistle, baby. But I think that was the turning point in the movie where everything ramped up for me, and I was like, fuck, dude, because John gets bit.
That was really emotional.
Oh, man, don't even get me started. I'm gonna let you do it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, no, that's about the extent of what I had. Just, I think that the characters in this were done so well, because when everyone died, or everyone who died, I was just like, fuck. I was hoping they would make it.
I felt genuinely something when he gets bit and then looks at her and he's like, fuck, and then grabs her and protects her while they're doing everything, and then kind of like throws her to the ground and says, run. And she wants to protect him, and then Nick like grabs her to say he's done, and everybody's watching as he's getting ate. That was emotional.
Very heartfelt.
When Chris finds Anna, is that her name? Not Anna. Lisa. When Chris finds Lisa and just opens up the janitorial closet and realizes that his mom's there, And she's like, yeah, we tried to keep her alive. It didn't work. And he goes,
At least she's not one of them.
thought that was kind of cheesy, but
Still heartfelt.
still heartfelt. Felt something there. And then when they die, when they get bit and he plugs in his phone and he's like, do you like it? And then shows her what he made for him, and they just like embrace each other. Even when they're zombies and like brush hands almost trying to hold him, I was like, fuck, dude. And then when Steph comes out and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And they just kind of look at her and say, go. I'm like, damn, sacrificed yourselves for her, even though I don't know why.
Well, I also don't know why Nick was trying to sacrifice himself for Anna. He didn't, because he survived and he's fine. It was super unnecessary for him to be like, no, I'll hold them off. You go ahead. Don't worry about it, Hobie. I got you.
I just want you to know that the only person that truly 100% should have died in this one was John, because he threw out his arm, which I don't know why you would throw out your arm around the corner. It's like zombie etiquette 101. And he got bit. Like, he was fucked. And that was okay, right? But Lisa and Chris didn't need to die. The issue was Steph drops the dildo and creates the noise, and that's when they're like, huh? But honestly, the amount of zombies that were in there and how fast and strong that they were, it would have been super easy to kind of just go in there and bash. Like, they weren't running zombies. Like, they were just shambling zombies that kind of hobbled everywhere. Honestly, could probably fucking obliterate all of them. Like, I don't know why they just didn't go in and find weapons and be like, because the baseball bat that Nick has, why did nobody else have that? Like, why was that one motherfucker using a PlayStation controller to, like, trip them?
I don't know. And the fact that they had that big cane, with how easy it was, especially when the group of Nick and his cronies were just a mob wiping squad when they were going out picking up supplies.
Yeah, what changed when they entered the Christmas tree section?
How come they all became so disorganized and weak? Like, I recognize that they were disorganized once they entered the building, but still, they should have been able to keep together a little better. That's part of the reason why my score is lower, because narratively, some of the choices to me don't make any sense. While
Right.
I think it's still a good movie, that is one of the issues I have, because it portrays the zombies as very, very weak zombies, even for like 2020 plus universe of zombies. Because, you know, there are thousands of zombie movies. These are low tier zombies.
These are, if you've ever watched The Walking Dead, these are what they refer to as walkers.
Yeah.
Like, they are the lowest form of zombies. You shouldn't have problems. Even if you're an inexperienced high school kid that has never killed anybody, you can take them.
Yeah, it's not like these aren't 28 Days Later zombies.
And to prove that point even more, the first zombie that is dressed up as Frosty the Snowman, okay, that has protective headgear on. Okay, I just want to preface that. When John and Anna are doing their thing in the playground,
And they teeter-totter.
yeah, Anna teeter-totters his fucking head off.
That's probably my favorite kill in the whole movie.
100% is. But his head popped off pretty easily. And going off of that, why in the world did Chris and Lisa feel the need to go plug up their phone to the TV to distract the zombies when they could have easily been like, hey, fuck Stain, and just like obliterated it? And then just to prove the point that they're really fucking stupid, Steph crawls in between them. Like, on her hands and knees, crawls in between them, and they don't pay any attention to her. Like, these zombies are fucking stupid.
Very low tier zombies.
They're lower than the walkers in The Walking Dead, now that I think about it. Well, no, yeah, because even the walkers in The Walking Dead would know that you're there. You just had to cover, like, they had to cover themselves in, like, guts to smell like them, because the smell set them off. So the walkers in The Walking Dead are smarter than these fucking zombies. And you're telling me that they had to walk in there and play a video, and then they got distracted by the video? Why did the zombies fucking care? Why didn't the zombies break the TV?
Thinking they were people to eat.
Why did they just stand there? That scene like made me mad, but at the same time I was like, fuck, dude, that's a really good ending to Lisa and Chris.
Right.
Which I get why they did it.
No, I get why they did it, but that's, like you said, the zombies are part of the reason why my score's lower, because I really did like the music in this. I liked the actors. I thought they all did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just it was weakly written in my opinion.
Well, yeah.
Not musically, just the script itself and like the narrative.
Yeah, no, from a movie standpoint, my score would be lower. The music does elevate, or lack of music actually elevates it, and the music itself does elevate it a little bit because the songs are good. But yeah, screenplay wise, written the way that it is, 100% agree. And then technically, Tony died too because somehow he got bit. Again, I don't understand how. Because even in that scuffle, if we go back to. And Anna killed them super easy. Like, I don't know if she was just on a vengeance or something. Also, why did she not use the pointy end that whole time? Why was she, like, bashing their faces in instead of just stabbing them through the skull?
No one knows.
Yeah. I'm like, why are you using the blunt end? You
I don't know.
need to hit them.
The blunt end was cool, though. There were some cool kills with her big-ass candy cane.
Yeah, and I thought she lost it at one point because she, like, wrapped it around one of their necks and then threw them into the other one. Like, it was cool and stuff. But why did it need to happen? Like, I don't understand that. And that's fine. But Tony didn't need to die for the simple fact that there's no way one of those zombies could have gotten to him, because if we look at the barricade that Arthur had made around the stage, to make them not come.
Yeah.
They could reach over it, but there's no way, because they weren't on the stuff. They were at the edge of the stage when he pushes him in to kill him. Like, or where he's trying to, because he doesn't actually get pushed in. He gets whacked by the star.
Which was foreshadowed previously.
Yeah, before the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Even started, which I thought was a cool little callback. But even because that's supposedly when it happened, I think, because he changes like really quickly. It didn't have any indication that he was bitten before that.
Well, he showed his ankle that he was bitten.
Not before he died, though, or before Arthur died.
It was after Arthur died, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that his ankle was bit because he was trying to push him off in the stage. Like, that's where I think it happened. I never saw it. But if I had to guess, that's where it was. And it didn't make sense because he didn't need to die. It was emotional.
Yeah.
And even when, Nick's like, I don't want you to have to kill your dad. I killed my dad. It's fucked up. Your dad wants to be left alone. We gonna go, baby. And then also when they exit and Steph's not there and they're like, oh, we're fucked. We're gonna die. No, dude, do you see how easily you could have ran away?
There were a lot of openings, and that's what I was thinking too. I was like, why are you guys looking around singing this sad song like it's the end of the world when you could clearly still escape? You might not be able to get very far. You might not have anywhere safe to go. There might not be a safe place in the entire world.
But you can escape.
But you're not stuck at the school. You have the opportunity to leave if you decide to.
We're sitting in this parking lot. There are a ton of holes everywhere. We can overpower these zombies, but I'm gonna sit here and fucking stay here, 'cause I'm going to die. I was like, that's the song. Like, they just accept their fate, and then Steph rolls in and is like, "Do you think I forgot about you?"
I think that song would have been a little bit better if they were like, we're stuck in this parking lot. We could escape, but it would destroy the plot.
Yeah. We could escape, but it would destroy the plot. Gotta wait for Steph to show up. Think that she's dead, but she's really not. And then she's like, get in, bitch. We're going shopping.
Yeah. And then Steph saves the day.
Yeah, Steph saves the day. And then, the funny part was
the Santa fake out at the end.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Like, the Santa fake out was great. Before that, I was going to say when you're like, well, where do we go? And they're all kind of like looking at each other. I was waiting for someone to be like, home, in one of those rom-com movies.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that, but that didn't happen. But the zombie Santa fake out at the end of the movie was great. I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed it.
No, I thought this was a very solid movie, and
way better than I thought.
I would recommend it to pretty much anyone.
If you're into horror and you want a nice little Christmas movie that's not the greatest Christmas movie of all time, because it's not the greatest Christmas movie of all time. We're doing the greatest Christmas movie of all time next week.
Oh, I'm sorry. There is one more thing I want to talk about for this movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's rated R. Why was it not PG-13? Do you know?
That was rated R.
It was rated R. Because I know it said like fuck and stuff a few times, but afterwards I was like, oh, I
Did
could
it?
recommend this. It did.
I didn't even hear that,
No, yeah, it
which
had,
might have been how little they said it.
yeah, I think it was once or twice. But it was rated R because after finishing it, I was like, oh, I'm going to send this to my aunt. I'm going to send my aunt a link to this because I think that this would be a fun, like, Christmas movie for everyone to watch. It's a little bleak and depressing, but I thought it would be fun.
It's super bleak and depressing at the end, man.
And then I saw that it was rated R, and I was like, oh, I can't recommend this to my aunt because she won't show my, like, 13, 14-year-old cousins. She'll be like, no, they're too young. It's rated R. I really thought it was PG-13 until I looked up the rating at the end. Is it gore? Do you think it's gore is why?
The violence and gore is rated severe on here, but on IMDb, because it's comedic zombie violence throughout. This includes eating people, impalements, decapitations, and more. Although since it is in a comedic fashion, no blood is really ever shown. There is very little violence and almost none at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think there's only like one scene where they're outside the school and they're like feasting on a person where it could be, yeah, that might be like our territory, but that could have easily been PG-13. And then, so mild language throughout includes fuck and a few uses of shit, hell, and damn, and that's it. And then the frightening and intense scenes, it's moderate on IMDb. This is a musical horror comedy, so it's more fun than scary or disturbing. However, there are some serious moments throughout and a few jump scares. But even with the violence and gore being severe, I don't think that's... And then, like, the sex and nudity is mild. Few kissing scenes between teenage boys and girls. Okay. One song has a mild sexual innuendo. A girl... Well, I wouldn't say mild. A girl finds a box of confiscated items, which would be the dildo.
Yeah.
That might have propelled it to R.
Okay, so I wasn't thinking about the dildo. I don't know. I feel like kids wouldn't know what a dildo is, so it wouldn't matter.
And I also think that it's a British movie, and they're way more open about stuff like that, right?
Well, so that is one thing that it might be, because in the UK and Europe, violence is rated significantly higher than violence over here.
You're right.
Whereas over here, violence could be PG-13 super easily, but a little bit of language R. Any sexual stuff R. Whereas in Europe, a little bit of sexual stuff isn't a big deal. They have nude news, from what I understand. I don't know how true that is. I've never actually looked it up, but that's something I've been told. And it's never been like, oh, no, that's not true. So they might have nude news in Europe. If any European listeners listening can confirm or deny that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be like super cool if you could tell us that, because I've never been to Europe, so I don't know European customs and cultures, just everything that I've read or seen. And I know that, like what you said, violence is the British video nasties.
Yeah.
Which a lot of their things are violence, which that might be the case why it's R, because the violence was so up. But I would say that Zombieland is significantly more violent.
Isn't Zombieland R2 though?
But that's because it says fuck a lot.
That's fair.
Like that, and that's why. Well, and there's also titties.
Yeah. Well, in Zombieland.
In Zombieland, yeah. Not in this one.
Yeah, no titties in this.
But yeah, these cultural differences.
Could be it.
I think that's it, where we as Americans look at it and go, well, it doesn't really say fuck, because I can't remember them saying it, maybe like once or twice, but not enough for that to be the reason it's R. And like, but
I think PG-13 gets one fuck in regular ratings.
It used to be 2 back in the day.
Oh, I mean, it could be 2. I just always
well,
heard
no,
1.
it's 1. Well, it's 1 now, but like back in the day, you could put 2 in there for some weird reason. I don't even know why that's a thing.
It
like,
seems so silly to me.
It's so stupid that you just can't say fuck. Like, do you listen to what kids say nowadays?
Have you ever been on TikTok?
Dude, kids say way worse than fuck. They say words that I don't even know exist.
Never mind.
No, but you're right, and that's why I think that it's so stupid that you can't say fuck in a movie, except for that one time, and because if you say it 2 times, it automatically becomes rated R, and that just doesn't make sense to me. I get it if you want to show like full frontal male nudity, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. Euphoria, R-rated show. Maybe NC-17. I don't know. I won't watch it.
Really?
It's the concept.
I haven't seen it either, but that's just because the only friends I've had who've seen it said I probably wouldn't like it.
I want to watch it for Zendaya's performance because I've seen a couple of scenes with her in it, and I think that she plays the druggie super well, and I would like to watch it for her, and I would really like to watch it for Sydney Sweeney because fucking, like, I want to watch The White Lotus on HBO. Ironically enough, I came across that completely by accident, and someone told me what it was when I was describing it to them. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're watching season 2 of The White Lotus." I was like, "What the? How did you get that from?" They're in Spain, and I saw a bunch of penises. Because that's what, and this was at the hotel gym. Like I was doing the fucking elliptical or whatever, and there was a TV, and it just automatically popped on HBO. And it seemed interesting. I was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, full frontal male nudity. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? But I had to keep watching because I just needed to know. Don't even know what the episode was about. There were some people in there doing some stuff. And then once I figured out that that's the one with Aubrey Plaza in it, because she came on screen, I was like, well, fuck, now I'm invested because I love her. Now I figured out that Sydney Sweeney's in the first one, so I'm going to watch it for her. But I don't want to watch Euphoria because it's the concept of seeing Sydney Sweeney naked and knowing that she's 25, but is portraying a teenage girl. Like, that's weird.
That's fair.
And I just don't feel comfortable with that. So, yeah. Like, I get that she's of legal age. But, and then there's also, like, a bunch of shit that she said about it where people would screen record or take pictures of her sex scenes and then send them to her family members.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, that's super fucking weird. I'm like, why are you doing that? And then she even said, why? That's weird. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, my cousin doesn't need to see that. If, like, they can watch it if they want to, but, like, it's not a thing. And then people have also said that she's over-sexualized, which, I mean, probably. I haven't watched it.
I haven't seen it. I have no idea.
Like, I know that she's topless and naked a lot, more than anybody else based off the things that I've read, but that's a whole different conversation. I apologize for getting on that tangent. Sydney Sweeney's amazing, and I just, again, she's on my top 3 list with her, Mia Goth, and Jenna Ortega, and Jenna Ortega's already proven that she's kicking ass, and so is Mia Goth. I'm just ready for Sydney Sweeney to really take off because she's fucking great at what she does. I just think that because she's been naked, same thing with Daenerys Targaryen.
Oh.
I can see her face. Amelia Clark. That's it. Same with her. I think that she's a great actress, but I think because she did her first thing as like an HBO nude scene or whatever, even though that's like the first 2 seasons and then after that she's never naked again, I feel like people associate that with her and that's all that they can see. And I feel like if Sydney Sweeney was to get a role, it would automatically be based off of, oh, you got really nice tits. Let's make sure that we show those. Don't care anything about your acting. Let's just show you naked because that's going to get more views. And I think that's fucked up.
I don't necessarily think that's true.
I
don't think that's true for Amelia Clark either.
You don't think so?
No.
Because I've always felt that way. Like, that's the way that people have viewed her, and it's been harder for her to get stuff and be taken seriously.
I mean, it might be that you might be right. I just personally don't think that. Like, I don't have any evidence. I'm just giving you my opinion. In my opinion, that's not the case because I think that she did really well even after she stopped doing like nude scenes and stuff.
Right, and I think so too, but I also know there were a lot of people who were mad about it.
Well, a lot of people are really dumb.
Right, and I feel like if Sydney Sweeney was never naked again, people would be up in arms about it, be like, oh, show it to me. And I'm like, no. Like, she's great at what she does. Like, I've seen a couple, there was one scene, and it's fucking memed all the time of her in Euphoria crying. Someone showed me that scene, and the range of emotions that she goes through in this short little time period blew me out of the fucking water. I was like, oh my God. I like want to cry, but I don't. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, that was a whole different tangent, but I apologize.
No, you're good, dog.
So with that being said, what do you have for Bailey's Babbles?
So today my Bailey's Babble is a little different than what we've historically done. So I don't know if any of our listeners are familiar or not, but there was an individual named Stanley Milgram who did obedience experiments. And essentially what his experiment was he had a tester, a teacher, and a learner. And the learner and the tester were always actors. They knew what was happening, and the teacher was the only variable. So what they would do is they would administer shock to, or it wasn't real shock, but they would administer shock to the learner, the teacher would. So the non-actor would be administering shock based on the learner answering questions incorrectly, while the tester encouraged the teacher to do it. And out of 40 participants in the initial study, 24 people administered shock up to about 450 volts, what they thought could potentially be a lethal dose to the patient. No one died. There was no actual shocking. But over 60% of participants were able to be coaxed into it, which this has led to a lot of different thoughts and opinions on, people's obedience to authority. It was used to justify subordinates of Hitler's actions during World War II. Like, were they actually evil, bad people, or was the authority figure saying this is what you're supposed to do, and humans' natural obedience causing them to comply? And this test basically proved that a lot of people would do that. So my question to you, Taylor, is, do you think that with the changes in society, that more or less people now would be obedient to the point of potentially killing someone if they were given that same experiment in 2022 versus the 1950s when it initially happened?
Way less.
Way less.
Way less. So one thing that you did leave out was they were aware that it was a fatal shock. Like, there was a indicator, and the tester even said that once it gets to a certain voltage, they will die. And it was a recording that was being played. Nobody was actually getting shocked, but the people that flicked the switch went past it even when the recording stopped, and they couldn't hear anybody, presuming that they were dead. They still flicked the switch and then went up to the next one and went all the way up, all through 10 levels. They knew what they were doing. And I think you're right. Back in the 1950s, it was very, very easy, because that was the culture that was being produced back then. And things are drastically different now, but the culture that was produced in the 1950s was very much the hierarchy of the house was the man makes the money, the woman stays at home and cleans and takes care of the kids are obedient, the man runs everything, and when someone tells you to do something, you do it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. Don't question it. Do exactly what I say. Respect your authority. And if a police officer or someone like your teacher, you don't mouth back. If you mouthed back in school, your teachers would beat the shit out of you, and then when you got home, you get the shit beat out of you. That's just what happened, right?
Right.
And I think that back in that day, because of that, everybody feared authority to the point where they would do things maybe they didn't want to do, which even the tester was like, if you go over the thing, nothing will happen. This is all on me, nothing on you. Even knowing that, and the person still not wanting to, quote unquote, kill somebody and doing it anyway, just shows that they were so fearful of authority, because that's what they had been trained to do, that they did it. But if you look at everything that's happened today, if you look in the world of all the social movements that have happened, because even with the civil rights movement of the 1960s, there was significant backlash from that one, based off of the racist ideologies, obviously, at the time, but also because the protesters were disobeying authority, and that was not cool. But take it to today, with the protests and stuff that go on today, there are so many people that are like, yeah, fuck the police in this situation. This person wasn't wrong. You're a piece of shit for it. Completely flip the script. And now when people have protest, it's almost always, yeah, the protesters were in the right, you were in the wrong. The authority doesn't mean the same thing as it once did.
So I'm really glad you answered it like that, and I'm also glad that you brought up the civil rights movement. So my follow-up or my additional question is, how far back in American history, not world history, because obviously everything goes through cycles, and at the beginning of any empire, they're going to have more authority, and it's going to be more authoritative.
Do you want to know when it changed in culture? Because I can tell you when it changed.
Well, so my question is this. At what point in history do you think he could have given that test and it been 100% compliance with the authority? Or do you think there is a period in U.S. history where it would have been 100% compliance with authority?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think that if you had given that test, what was it, in the 50s, even in the 20s?
You think in the 20s?
I think in the early 1900s, 100% compliance for sure.
So I think it depends. I think that prior to World War I, but after the Civil War, it would have been less. It would have been less 100% compliance, maybe not 16 saying no, but maybe like 5 or 6.
Right.
But I think during World War II, it would have, World War I, it would have probably gone back to 40. Everyone's like, yeah, do it. Push it.
Well, yeah, because I think the
fear of war and fear of...
Yeah, the early 1900s would have been that thing. Because, like, even Prohibition in the 1920s or whatever, I could see that maybe it gets bent a little bit. But I can definitely see, like, the early 1900s where it was straight, do as you're told. The point in history that I truly believe where everything changed and it flipped the script was the hippie movement. Like, I think that hippies are the counterculture that developed from them is what really started everybody on this, fuck you, I'm doing what I want type of mentality, because that was the first time that war wasn't the answer. Because before that, everybody's like, jump on it, fuck them. And then Vietnam happened, and then you had a group of people that are like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You're a piece of shit. And then would egg and boo the soldiers. Like, if you were in the military at that time, thank you for your service, but everybody fucking hated you.
Yeah.
Like, that was just a fact. And I think that that's the point in time where if you had administered it then, you would have seen significantly lower numbers. But 100% compliance would probably be the early 1900s. Anything farther back than that, even around if you had done it in the 1700s, I could see that, because the hierarchy and everything that was that culture was still very prevalent. Because if you take it back to, God, we're going to get fucking deep into this. I'm sorry. But if you take it back to like the 1300s, right? With like the Crusades and stuff, that was the church had all the power, don't question my beliefs or you fucking die.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything.
Well,
that was cool.
No, there were people who said things against it, but the thing is, the church absolved them. The church basically said, hey, yes, you guys are going to be committing crimes. However, I have ultimate power. I am the voice of God, and I am absolving you of the crimes you're committing for this crusade.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Totally different. But that would have been at that 100% compliance, because at that point, anybody would convert over to Christianity for the simple fact that I don't want to die because you're going to kill me because I don't believe in your God. So I'm going to believe in your God or tell you that I believe in your God and comply with it because that's part of that authority figure for the fear of death. And I think as we've progressed as a species and evolved, it has gotten to where we think about things differently, and it's a lot. I think we've always had the people that think about things differently. Even back to the Neanderthal caveman days or whatever, you've always, like, the first caveman that picked up a bone and killed the other caveman, that was thinking differently. Why'd you pick up the bone and use it as a club, right?
Yeah, there are always outliers.
There's always outliers. But I feel like those outliers haven't become dominant in the culture until recently. Like again with the hippie movement, where the outliers are no longer really the outliers anymore because they're the main control group now at this point. Because today is super anti everything. It is cool to be part of the counterculture movement instead of the opposite. The whole reason the counterculture movement was created was to be different, but everybody wants to be different now. It's done the complete opposite. Great example of that would be, what is it? Like nerd culture. You used to get made fun of for playing Pokemon. I got made fun of for playing Pokemon in school, right? And then everybody was all on my dick when Pokemon Go came out, and I knew all 151 Pokemon. I could see the fucking silhouette of it and tell you exactly what it was, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so cool." I'm like, "Fuck you," because you made fun of me for that shit.
Yeah, I remember 5th grade, me coming to school with my Pokemon cards and everyone being like, "Oh, bro, you're in 5th grade. You're not supposed to be playing with Pokemon cards anymore." And I'm like, "I don't play with them. I collect them."
Yeah, and then in high school when you're playing Pokemon Go and everybody's like, "Oh, do you know what this thing is?" It's like, "Yeah, it's a fucking Diglett, you idiot."
Pokemon Go came out while you were still in high school?
I think it was like maybe the tail end of it. Maybe I had just graduated high school. I was still hanging out with my high school friends when it came out, so I can't remember. Like it gets a little fuzzy.
I don't know. I know where I was. I was doing Army stuff when Pokemon Go came out, so it was at least like 2015.
And I graduated in 2015. But that's what I'm talking about. Oh, 2016. So no, I was not in high school. I was graduated. I'm sorry, but that's the thing. Like I was an adult going, yeah, this is cool. And the same thing with emo wasn't a cool thing, but it's become more acceptable with things like Hot Topic, and now people are going to Hot Topic and stuff.
Well, not emo necessarily. Alternative dress, like thick eyeliner and piercings. Like when I got my first like lip piercing in like 5th or 6th grade. I did it myself. And I got not bullied at school because, it wasn't bullying, but people talked shit.
All the time.
Yeah. And now those same people have like their nose pierced and like eyebrow rings and shit. And I'm like, dog, you talk shit less than 15 years ago for me doing that exact same thing.
Right. And it's the way the times have changed. But I feel like today, if you gave it, it would be almost zero people would comply with it.
Yeah.
I think that they'd be like, that's fucked up. Why am I shocking somebody for doing, like, it would be an argument of why am I shocking somebody? Why can't I just ask them questions? And if they get it wrong and they get it wrong, why do I have to shock them?
Exactly. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah. Cause I don't think anybody was ready to have that conversation back in 1950. And I think because I like Stanley Milgram for his thing on authority.
I haven't read his book, but he has a book about obedience that was published in the 70s. I can't remember its exact title right now, but it's something that I plan on picking up and actually reading because I did a bunch of research and stuff, and he's super interesting.
Yeah, Milgram was one of my favorites with the shock experiment because I'm like, dude, I think fuck, why would somebody do that? And it just became really fascinating. Same thing with the Stanford prison experiment. That's another one that I know people quote a lot. But it was a thing on authority as well. Power goes to your head. And when you're put in positions, when you put the two together and you put people who are in power that let it go to their head and people who are obedient to authority, you get the Holocaust.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you get Stockholm Syndrome and everything, too.
Right.
Like, I think Stockholm Syndrome is part of this obedience thing because I think that captives and stuff see their captors as authority figures.
Yeah, because they're protecting them in a way. Because so hear me out. They're protecting. So the way that I think about this is they are protecting them because in their mind, they could be doing something worse to them, but they're not.
That's why when you see videos or movies where they've got a kidnapper and kidnap victims, the kidnapper is like, hey, I could cut off your fingers or I could be doing X, Y, or Z, but instead I've got you food and you've got a blanket.
Yeah, you need to eat.
Yeah.
Eat. Do you want a burger? Here's a burger. Like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you later and then may or may not cut something off. I haven't decided that yet, but seriously, eat this burger because I know that it's your favorite because you said it was your favorite.
Have you seen Fresh?
No, it's on my list because someone was telling me about that.
I think it was probably me. But in that, there are a bunch of captives and he's really nice to them. But I'm not gonna give any spoilers because I think we might do that for a future episode.
Oh yeah, that'll be fine. But yeah, no. I think that today it would be almost zero based off of the world events and things that are happening. Um,
People are better now, or
it's
worse, but
depending on how you look at it, because I think people are both. People are better in the sense that like racist shit doesn't fly anymore the way that it used to.
yeah,
Like back in the day, it was cool to be racist, and now it's like
punch
nah,
a Nazi.
dude, punch a Nazi.
Yeah, no,
Instead of join the Nazi party, right? And that's cool. I like that aspect of it. I'm glad that we're taking.
well, I don't condone violence against anybody, even people I don't like. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't agree with that.
No, what I'm saying is I like that we're shutting down the racist aspect of things.
Oh, wholeheartedly agree.
Like that's what I'm saying. I don't condone violence either, but what I'm saying is we're having those conversations. We're having the awareness and saying, women don't need to be just put in the kitchen. They can do other things. Like we're having those conversations now. Women have more freedoms, and that's cool. I'm glad we're having those conversations. I'm glad that we're not being racist anymore. But people are also getting super soft about things because and the greatest example of it is cancel culture, because everybody is so incredibly scared of saying something, because all it takes is one person on the internet to take, even with what I've said, you could take things out of proportion, cut it, and then make me out to be a bad guy.
Oh yeah, you could take. We have 30, 40 episodes now, almost 40 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you went through and listened to everything we've said, we've both said things that, taken out of context, could get us in trouble, even though neither of us are racist, neither of us are hateful. But it's just everyone talks and everyone says something that could be perceived whatever way.
You could perceive this whole conversation that we've had as I'm a piece of shit. But if you take it out of context, and that's the problem, is we're so quick to jump on things that we deem wrong, where we don't take the time, because that was the difference. And one thing that I did like back in the day was that they took the time to kind of even do a little bit of research, but to kind of understand what was going on, if they agreed with it. Like they didn't question their own values, but they questioned the values that they didn't believe. But we'll get to that. But that was one of the things where it was like, okay, you're not, and granted, obviously things that happened back then were wrong, but people weren't so up in arms about every little thing like they are today, because one wrong move and it's canceled. And what, like a great example of that is times change. What it was acceptable back then is not acceptable anymore. Like saying the R word, right? That was one of the things where growing up, that was totally fine to say. Like that was the legal term, like the term in the dictionary was MR. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And you were just saying it, and like I get that it was offensive. And that was another thing, is like I saw this 1982 charity shirt, and that's kind of what brought me onto this, but it was swing for the R word. And I'm like, oh man, in today's context, that's super fucked up. But in 1982,
it was a charity to help people.
Yeah, with mental disabilities.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And like the terminology is like, I get that it's an offensive word. I understand that. But what I'm saying is like growing up, that wasn't it. And the same thing, the derogatory term for gay people. That was just something that people said. It never we never used it in the context of making fun of somebody. It was just.
No, I mean, historically, when I was like 8 or 9, I used that word super frequently.
Yeah.
But I was never talking about gay people.
No, I was talking about people that I found annoying.
Yeah. I know that's. I don't say it anymore. I haven't said it in 10 or more years probably.
Right. I don't say it either because it's offensive.
Yeah, exactly. But when I was using it when I was little, it was because I was ignorant and I didn't really know. You know what I mean? Like kids don't know. Kids hear people say it and then they repeat it, but they don't know what they're saying.
And that's the thing. If somebody is ignorant, don't jump on them. Don't immediately condemn and crucify them for their ignorance.
Yeah.
Educate them. have that conversation. If someone is using the R word, be like, hey, man, I get that back in the day it was cool and you probably have formed a habit of saying it, but this is why it's offensive.
I mean, by 2022, anyone who still uses those words like super frequently never tried to stop.
And that was the point that I'm getting at.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear.
That was the point that I was getting at. If you have a conversation with someone saying, this is offensive, blah, 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 don't do it, and they look at you and just blatantly ignore what you are saying and continue to do it, crucify them.
Yeah, fuck
that's
those
fine.
guys. They're the problem.
Right. But that's not ignorance at that point. Ignorance is things that I don't know. I'm ignorant about a lot of things, and I will admit that because I don't know.
I would imagine that I'm ignorant about millions of things that I don't even know I'm ignorant about.
Right. I don't know what I don't know, but I know what I don't know. Like, I know that I don't know what I don't know, if that makes sense. Like, I know that there are things that I don't know, but I don't know
What they are.
If that makes sense.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and that's human nature, but as soon, like, I'm a very adaptable person, and I learn very quickly, and if you tell me how to do something, I'll do it. Sorry about that, the batteries died.
Yeah. Yep, they did.
We had technical difficulties. But as I was saying, if you are still doing that afterwards and have been known, like, you're the problem. And those people should be condemned and crucified. 100% agree with that one because they're stuck in their ways and not willing to change. And if you don't want to change with the world around you and make the world a better place, like if you have quote unquote toxic habits or traits or whatever, and you have been exposed to them and know for a fact that this is a toxic trait and you don't want to change yourself, then you probably deserve what's happening to you, right? In a sense.
I mean, I feel that. I don't know. I don't think that everyone's perception of what is toxic and what isn't toxic is necessarily valid.
No,
especially in regards to someone's personal life.
Right. Like, I mean, there have been times in my life where I can remember where I was a shitty human being, and I fully accept that, but I try to not be a shitty human being anymore.
Me too.
Because I go, yeah, what I did was fucked up, and I could easily be like, I was a kid, I was in high school, I was in junior high. I can give all of these reasons and excuses, but I don't. I go, yeah, that was a problem. I get that. I'd like to leave it in the past. Like, that was some shit I did in high school. I was stupid. I understand that. Let's move past it because I'm not trying to be that person anymore. And I feel like cancel culture started off as a good thing and then has progressed and snowballed into that's the authority now. The anti-authority is what it is. And once you have issues, but that's a whole separate issue, but that happens, and it's just part of changing and adapting as a human, part of like humanity and shit, I guess. So, I don't know. But I liked your question. I thought that it was really good. I apologize for going on a tangent.
No, you're good, brother.
So, but yeah, as I don't know, maybe I have issues with authority. If that wasn't, maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I do a podcast. I don't know. I do a podcast because I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about movies.
Yeah, it's fun.
So
and I enjoy hanging out with my boy.
Well, what was your answer? Because I railroaded that.
I mean, you basically gave my answer. There's no, yeah, you basically gave my answer.
And I figured when you asked that question, I would answer it the way that you would.
Yeah.
But usually you play like devil's advocate.
I mean, with this, I think that it's pretty much right, especially in regards to Stanley Milgram. I'm pretty sure that your assessment is correct, and it's very similar to what mine was. And the rest of it.
Well, so let me ask you this. What point in human history do you think it would have been closer to zero? Because I said the hippie movement of like the 1960s, because that's also when like the civil rights movement was going on at the same time. So I want to say like the 60s is when that happened. When do you think that turning point was where if you would have given it at that time, it would have been significantly lower? Maybe not zero, but way lower than what it was.
I think it would be more recent than that. I would probably say like the mid-90s, like 97, 98, because that's when a lot of talk shows and stuff that I remember from when I was like super little were bringing on like outliers and stuff. And I don't know.
I was just curious on that one because that's when I think it started, because that's when you could really start pinpointing it.
See, even during the hippie movement, there were a lot of people who were like vehemently against it. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but
And
that's where it started because there were tons of people that didn't like it. Like I get what you're saying though. Like there were both ends of the spectrum. I think that was very obvious that you had 50-50. There were two sides to it, and you were on pro-war or anti-war. That was it. But no, I also agree that there was a resurgence in it. I want to say that the 70s and 80s were kind of there too, especially with the types of movies that were popular, like slasher films were coming out. That was not what they were used to. There was a lot more nudity. Porn had become a thing in the 80s, more prevalent because that was when like home videos came out and stuff. So the porn industry, the anti thing came up. So the anti culture really started to rise there too. Drugs became very prominent in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then the 90s I feel like had a resurgence of it with just the way the 90s were. Like the 90s and early 2000s, especially with bands like Blink-182 coming out and being like, fuck you for telling me what to do.
aliens exist.
Aliens exist. Well, yeah, that was the other thing. Like there were these ideas of aliens and stuff that were coming out, and people were
That's a Blink-182 song.
from the greatest album, Enema of the State. Yeah, it's number 3. But yeah, just stuff like that. And I think that the late 90s, early 2000s found that resurgence for it and really took it to where it's at today. But yeah, I'll quit talking. I'll quit talking because I can go on the sociological, and psychological aspect of it all the time.
Yeah, for hours and hours and hours.
And I'm not going to do that.
Well, do you have anything else today, Taylor?
I don't have anything else today. This was a fun episode to do. Recommend watching it if you're in for some holiday movies. Check out next week's episode. It'll be the greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Yeah.
And also, we have a little bonus episode that we're going to throw. I'll spoil that one. It's going to be our end of the year wrap up, where we go through everything that we've done in 2022 and tell you, what was our favorite movie that we reviewed, what was our least favorite movie, stuff like that. Kind of just a highlight reel so that way you can understand where we were coming from when we did things, get a little behind the scenes things. Don't know how long it'll be, but it'll be a little bonus episode that will be released on December 31st.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you want to engage with us, talk to us, get to know us more, please, by all means, interact with us on social media. We try to interact with people that comment on it. We can find us on our link trees in the bio. It gives you a direct link to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, MySpace. Just kidding, we don't have that. But you can get to know us. We love getting to know you guys and interacting with you and figuring out who you guys are, because you figure out who we are through the podcast, and we want to figure out who you are by communicating. I promise you we're not scary.
No, we're very, very relaxed, mellow people. Taylor's a little high-strung tonight, but...
I think I'm high-strung all the time and just don't realize it. Yeah, Bailey's the laid-back one. I'm fucking high-strung, I guess.
No, I mean, I'm more laid back today than normal because I'm fighting, like, a cold or something.
And I'm high-strung because I have a job.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, interact with us. We really enjoy it. We like to get you guys in. We're trying to build a community on Facebook, so if you want to join our Facebook group, by all means do. Post whatever you want in there as long as it's like movie related. Ask us questions. Be like, hey, why'd you review this piece of shit movie? Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Good feedback, negative feedback, we don't care. Leave us a review. If you think that there are things that we need to work on and improve, constructive criticism is always welcomed. Don't be an asshole.
I mean, you can be an asshole. We don't care.
No, we don't, but...
You're not going to hurt our feelings.
So let me rephrase that. If you do constructive criticism, I will take it seriously. If you're just being a vindictive asshole, I will laugh at you.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, too.
Yeah, like if it's constructive criticism is valid, go for it. We'll change. If you're a vindictive asshole, go fuck yourself. But anyway, this has been Two Idiots, One Podcast, wrapping up almost the end of 2022.
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Taylor.
Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.